see here. Got here is a disassembled VL95 VHS camera. It's a Sharp SlimCam, and this particular model has a color viewfinder, as you can see here. And I got this because I knew that this would be compatible with my other SlimCam, which is a VL65 rebuilt into a VL63 chassis. And the connector's identical, so that's good. I can probably just plug that right in and it'll work. But first we're going to look at this VL95, I mean. It works for the most part. The only issue it has is the tape door doesn't stay closed. It was closed when it arrived. And the original seller didn't have anything to test it with, so I bought it as is. So I wasn't expecting much. I got this just for the color viewfinder, but it kind of almost works. I think I can just put this board on one of the VHS deck of one of my other cameras. I have two cameras that don't work, but the VHS decks on them are working fine. So I'm just going to have to desolder this ground wire and pull this board off. I've already disconnected all the cords. Now, technically you don't have to desolder this ground wire, but it's held on with a screw on the main frame of the VHS deck, and it's on really tight, and I couldn't remove it, not without slipping and breaking something, so I'm not going to try. I mean, I could try on this one, but I'm willing to bet it's on there real tight. Yeah, it's not coming out. So I'm just going to have to desolder that wire, like I've done all the others. And one of the cameras, I know I didn't even solder the ground wire back, because I might need it for something else. So I'll have to just desolder this wire, and we're going to be good to go on that. I'll show you the disassembly of the another camera once I get this board off. Alright, that's ready to go. So I'm going to put some get my tip here. I'm going to put some flux on that solder joint. Try and get most of the solder off of it. This should be heating up good enough for me to pull this off. Alright. This fucking solder pump, man, I can't wait till the new one comes. Fucking worthless. Cheap piece of eBay, piece of China made piece of trash is what this one is. They all wear out. All the cheap ones just wear out real quick. Okay, there we go. That's still need to heat it up again to release this wire, but it'll come right out now. There we go. If I use this again, so I'm going to turn it off and plug it, get it out of the way. Alright, this board should just come right up now. There we go. Look at all these capacitors. The common issue with this model camera is the capacitors. The VHS deck, this is actually the first one I've got that doesn't work. I think I had another one that had a similar issue, and it sort of just fixed itself after I swapped boards. I think maybe the whole release mechanism is coming up, that's my guess. There's no belts in this VHS deck. The only one that really what you would call a belt is right here. It's got teeth on it though, and it's sort of made out of a type of plasticky rubber. It's not the same kind of rubber you'd see in most other belts. I don't think these are really disintegrating like the normal belts are, so you should be fine as long as the tape door stays closed. You got a working VHS deck. So I'm going to move this out of the way here. I'll find my other camera and I'll show you how to disassemble that camera. Alright, we got ourselves here a VL65 rebuilt into a... might actually be a... I'm actually not sure. I've swapped these boards so many times. I don't know anymore. But this has the handle from the 63. As you can see, I kind of repaired it. It's got the cheap rubber pull handle that they've all kind of started to disintegrate now. So yeah, but all these parts are interchangeable. I've taken you can take the handle off and put it on a different model as long as it's in the same range. The VL63, maybe the VL50s. I don't know. Haven't seen many of those. There's a slightly older model that has the AV ports on this side. That one is a different design. You won't be able to swap any parts from that, really. I'm pretty sure. But that one, those probably held together in a similar manner. It's just slightly different screw positions, I would bet. Anyway, I'm gonna power this on and see if I got the right one here. So as I recall, this is the one that works, but the sensor only returns white video data, which is a problem with the main board, not the camera sensor, because I swapped boards and it still had the issue. Swapped the sensor, I mean, and it still had the issue. So the main board on this one needs a recap. Okay, yep, this is the one. Alright, screwdriver. First thing you'll need to remove is the viewfinder assembly. That's easy, it's just held on with 2 screws. There's one screw in the shoe. There's 2 screws up here, but you only really need to remove one of them. The smaller one holds the metal shoe onto the housing. That one can stay. And then there's one screw right here, right there. Up. Oh, you gotta be a little gentle with this when you pull it, because this cord doesn't have a lot of slack. You just get that out there and you pull it. We're gonna take a look at this. This is a standard, the older style CRT black and white viewfinder, and here's the color one. Now, as you can see, these connectors. Let me get this in shot here. These connectors are identical, so they appear to have the same color wires on them too. These are probably just a simple 5-volt power and composite connection, with a lot of these ground wires just being redundant ground connections. So I'm going to put this on here just to see. Oh, this wouldn't really be the right one to test this on, since it doesn't have any stable image data coming out, so I'm not really be able to look at it. So I'll set that aside. And then after you get the viewfinder off, you got another screw. There's 2 screws on here. This screw right here. The screw right here can stay. You never have to really remove that one. There's a metal bracket behind it that these screws attached to. This metal bracket's independent of everything else inside. So the only screw you have to remove is this one, because this one holds the right side of the chassis together. So we're going to pull that one out. Suppose you could pull the other one out instead. It'll just take this metal bracket with it, but actually that wouldn't really work. It would get caught up in the circuit board. So yeah, you want to take this one out. This one's a little smaller than the others, so sort of keeps. Some of these are a little different. I never really bother tracking which goes where. So we got some screws up here. We got to pull. Pretty much all of these have to come out. So we're gonna take them out. You also want to take off the camera lens cover if you have one, because that will prevent you from taking this cover off, because it really has to come off for anything else. Alright, let me try and get this in shot. It's actually not that easy here. all these screws have to come out here. So you got one here, and you got one there, you got one up here. And this kind of just pulls out. And just need to put this down a little more. This kind of just pulls out. Oh, I missed it. Did I? No, I didn't miss a screw. Okay. Thought I did for a second there. It's kind of held on a little bit by a clip. That'll come out once I get the rest of this loose. And we got some more screws here. We got this one, that one right here, and this one up here. Now this one you don't have to pull unless you intend to swap out the VHS deck, which I intend to do, so I'll be pulling that one too. And this screw here, I believe holds on this little assembly for the battery terminal and stuff. That one could stay, but this one up here will have to come out. This one up here. And then there's one on the side here. This one comes out, and this screw comes out. This one doesn't hold anything together besides the handle, so that one doesn't have to come out unless you're swapping handles. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull these out, and this will just be easier to do off camera here. I think that's it. So now that we got all the screws we need off, I'm going to go ahead and pull this off. Now there's one connector you have to worry about when pulling this off, is the connector for the record button, because it stays with the rest of this when it comes off. So we're going to pull this off. Okay, now that it's loose, this little lens cover here comes off. Get that out of the way. Screws in here, so I don't lose them. Oh yeah, I forgot to remove the VHS deck cover. We're going to need to do that since we're taking out the VHS deck. So let's do that next. I really should do this first, but I forgot. We're going to take this cover off. If you want to, oh yeah, by the way, if you have one of these, you don't have a way of powering it on yet, and you want to open the VHS door, I will show you how to do that. Because these are, it's a simple latch release system, and it's just springs open. And it is the proper way to open one of these. And this one got a little bent because some dumbass tried to pull it apart by force, I imagine, because they didn't have a battery or an AC adapter to it. The batteries for these things are sealed lead acid type, and they're all dead now. They all dried up years ago. So what happened to this one? But anyway, this little latch here, you just have to, right there, there's a little latch, or latch there. You can, it's really hard to see, but you just have to hit it a little bit to slide it. I think you slide it to the left. Or is it to the right? Okay, yeah, it's to the right. And there you go. That's how you open the latch on a tape door without needing a power source. And you can get to this easily with the you can take off the cover. We pretty much have to, really, and then you slide this to the right, and it opens right up. Okay, now that we got the tape cover off, it's time to disconnect all the wires. There's a lot of stuff connected to this, but it's not too much of a pain to work on. Looks like I already have the ground wire on this one disconnected, so yep, I chose the right one. I'm going to pull all these connectors. And the only connector here I need to really keep an eye on is this connector down here that connects the, oh yeah, that one's different. See, this connector connects the circuit board for these buttons down here. buttons down here. But I'm not swapping the board, so in this case I don't have to worry about it. And some of these, the connector style they use for the circuit board is different, but the mount point for the circuit board, the shape of the circuit board is the same. So you really just have to take the whole board with you when you swap boards into a different. This is the only part that has to stay with this main board, because for whatever reason they changed these styles. I think this one came out of the 64. Or was this the 65? I mean, this case is a 65. I have a 65 rebuilt into the 63, so this one might be a 64. Because I do know I have another 64 that works just fine. So I'm gonna pull these cords. I'm gonna wait until I get the board up before I pull that final cord. This ribbon cable here controls the zoom and the autofocus. And these ribbon cables here, you have to pull these old plastic things up before they come out. The only one that's held on with friction, actually I don't think a single one of them is held on that way. There's some more underside on the other side here. I'll get to those when I can get this board up. Interesting thing about this terminal connectors here is that it's got two separate ones, one for the battery and one for the AC adapter, but they both pretty much go to the same place. I think they're only separated by a diode, really. The camera treats it as the same power. It gets a battery meter, and the battery meter treats it as the same as the battery connector. So I'm going to take this one off here. Okay, I think that's everything. Alright, and then there you got some screws we got to pull out. One right here, and one right here, and then there's one screw holding it onto the VHS deck. And I'll keep this tripod mount the tripod mount's attached to the VHS deck, so that's going to come right up with it. So that's why we got to take out this final screw from the case before this will come up. It was just the one with the accessories, damn it. Yeah, I think I lost the screws for one of these. So I used some substitutes. I guess this one. Oh, I'm gonna go smaller. I'm gonna try and bend this back a little bit after I get it out. Bothers me that it sticks out that much. If it sticks out too much, it might think it's open and you'll have issues getting it to engage with the tape. So I'm definitely going to try and bend that back. Two of the cameras I have had that issue with the tape door sticking out too much because someone tried to pull it apart. Okay, now we got these weird screws out. Now we got a screw on this other side. Right here. Come out. Whatever it is. Pull this screw out so I can get this circuit board off. Now with the circuit board, well, if you have it facing this way, you slide it up. You lift up at the bottom and you slide it up and then out. It comes right out here. But we still have one connector left, and that's the this ribbon cable here. It's hard to get to when the board is on the VHS deck, so that's why I don't pull it until I put the rest of the power cord. That could have been bad. Alright. So we got that one off. really not worth trying to recap one of these. I don't have the soldering equipment for that. Not to mention, I don't really know how to read these values. Maybe some of them I can figure that out. This one's a 20 volt. I don't know. 5 volt 100. I guess 100 UF microfarads. I don't know. They're marked a little different. The through-hole ones. So now we got that out. We're gonna pull this VHS deck out. It should just come right out here. I gotta lift up on this side and carefully here. Alright, we got it out. So I'm gonna see if I can tell how this was bent. So I'm gonna get this out of the way. Operate this without connecting that ground wire, because I will need to test to make sure it works. This VHS deck, if it's could be an issue with the electronics. Can't imagine that would be the problem though. Alright, very gently put this down here, trying to avoid touching the video drum here. The video sensor on this one has no dead pixels on it, so I don't have to swap it. So I got lucky there. I need one now. Oh, it's just feed well placed and we have useless text. Where's my drop that damn screen on the floor. For testing purposes, I will be putting the black and white viewfinder on this, just to see if the panel doesn't change. This would be the one to test that on. This screw's always a pain getting here. That's what's unlined up. It would be really cool if I was able to 3D print a small case for one of these VHS decks and turn it into a tiny VCR, because this is a really compact VHS design here. This would be the world's smallest VCR. The only trouble is these SlimCams don't support SLP mode, so I imagine they didn't see a reason to, because the batteries wouldn't last 6 hours runtime that a standard VHS tape has, 9 hours if you have one of those 3-hour tapes. So yeah, that's probably why they didn't bother implementing SLP mode. You only really see SLP mode in their VHS-C cameras with the smaller tapes that have less room on them. Okay, now we got that on. So first thing we're going to connect is the ribbon cable for the zoom here, because if you get this on and then try to connect this, it's really hard to get to. See how much easier that is. And there's enough slack on this that you can just do this without having to. Alright, get that in there. Right, no, I didn't get that. You gotta slide it into those plastic catches there. No. Some of these are really tight, short. Don't get a lot of room with them. Kind of get this ground wire in here. I'm not going to solder it on until I know for sure this thing will get along with this VHS tape. It should. All the connectors are the same. So I'm really just going to get it in there well enough to make a slight connection maybe. Not sure why this has got to be grounded. That should be good enough. This lower one goes down here. It goes over here. I was about to say. There's 2 connectors down here. Where's the other one at? Oh, that's the connector for this. See, as you can see, this connector is smaller compared to the other one. So if you were swapping boards, you'd have to take this other board with you. I'm not doing that this time, so don't have to worry about it. The screw that holds the circuit board on. Don't want to forget that. Connecting the rest of these. That should be it. There's one more screw. Just get that. I think it's this one. So now I'm going to put on the viewfinder, black and white viewfinder assembly here. It'll kind of stay on without the other half attached. Oh, it slid right on. Almost like it was made for it. So now I'm going to put the battery back on here. What I do with it? Alright, put down the want to slide it in the VHS direction so we can actually test it. We know the camera side works. I forgot to connect the battery connection. I was wondering why it didn't turn on. Alright. Now, there we go. Now I turn. Does that same error code. Is there a problem with the ground connection maybe? Battery door, man. Might just be an issue with the board, it looks like. So if that's the case, I'm not going to bother resoldering that wire. I'm just going to put it together and set it aside for parts. Maybe it'll clear that error once I, still doesn't want any. That's strange. It works fine in camera mode. That is super weird. It's more functional than the other one, so I'm going to go ahead and keep this one where it is. Alright, pull this up. Anyways, you saw how I took it apart, so I'll come back to you once I test the color viewfinder on my good camera. Alright, let's see here. Here's my VL65 or for not sure, rebuilt into a 63 case, as you can see here. So I'm going to take off the original viewfinder assembly and replace it with this nice color one. Shouldn't take long at all. So I'm going to go ahead and take off the required screws. Alright, got that one off. Now we're going to put this one on. Boom. Fits. Bada bing. Now we put it back on. to mention, one of the connector cords probably connects the microphones on there too. So one of those wires is probably the microphone. Looks like it's working. Nice. I don't know if I can really show this, but it's working well. This doesn't extend as far out as the old one did, though. There's a little bit of overscan on it. It wasn't meant to be on this viewfinder. So the OSD is a little off, but that doesn't really matter much. I wonder if you can adjust something like that. Color LCD viewfinder on an older model 65. This came off of VL95, and it'll work on a VL94 or 93 or 90, VL95. Viewfinder will work on a VL63, 64, or 65. I haven't personally owned any other models, but anything that has this kind of chassis design here will work with this camera. So this is my battery pack. The cover keeps flapping open, so I'm going to redo how that's attached, but there you go. Alright, this is an example recording from my Sharp SlimCam. And there you go, that's what it looks like.